Imagine waking up, cold metal pressing against your skin, your wrists bound by something that hums faintly with energy. The air is heavy with an unfamiliar scent, a strange mix of ozone, burning oils, and something distinctly metallic. Your head pounds, and as your vision clears, you realize you're not alone. Figures loom over you, tall, armored beings clad in dark, battle-worn plating. Their faces are fierce, sharp-eyed, and unmistakably alien. These aren't just captors, they're warriors. Towering over you, each one stands well over 7 feet tall, their frames powerful and honed for combat. They move with precision, their armor whispering with every step as they circle you like hunters sizing up their prey. One of them, their leader, judging by her elaborate crest and decorated armor, leans closer. Her gaze is sharp, predatory, and filled with disdain. You've been captured, but you're no ordinary prisoner. These warriors aren't just here to keep you locked away. They're studying you, assessing you, as though you're a specimen, not a person. They speak in a language that's harsh and guttural, but you can catch one word they keep repeating, Nashik, a word that echoes through the chamber like a challenge. This is no random abduction. These alien Amazon warriors follow a brutal code, one that values strength above all else. To them, combat isn't just survival, it's sacred. They see you as weak, fragile, an outsider unworthy of respect. But what they don't know is that you're not going down without a fight. Welcome to HFY Chronicles-849. If you enjoy unraveling the mysteries of the unknown, now's the perfect time to join the adventure. Every great journey starts with a few brave explorers. Hit subscribe, it's free, and it helps us grow this community together. Now back to our story. You soon realize why they captured you. These warriors believe in proving dominance through battle, and they've mistaken you for something you're not, a champion from Earth, a planet they've only recently learned about. They think you're one of humanity's finest fighters, a warrior worth testing in their brutal arenas. Your heart pounds as they unshackle you and shove you forward. The crowd is deafening, rows upon rows of armored warriors, their weapons clanging against their chests in a ritualistic rhythm. The arena floor is scorched and stained, clear evidence that few survive these battles. They pit you against a towering warrior, easily twice your size, her armor blackened from countless victories. She wields a weapon that's as much a symbol of power as it is a tool of destruction. A jagged blade, forged from some dark metal that hums faintly, as if charged with energy. The warrior circles you, her stance wide and powerful, confident that this battle will end quickly. The crowd laughs, jeering at you like you're a lamb before the slaughter. But what these warriors don't understand is what makes humans truly dangerous. It's not brute strength. It's adaptability. Years of experience flood your mind, whether from boxing classes, martial arts training, or even just surviving tough situations. You recognize the signs of arrogance in your opponent, the way she swings wide, relying on brute force rather than precision. Her armor makes her powerful, but slow. Every missed strike leaves her just a little more off balance, a little more exposed. You dodge, weave, and when the moment comes, you strike. Not with power, but with precision. A sharp elbow to a vulnerable joint, a quick step behind her stance, and suddenly, she stumbles. The crowd's laughter cuts off, replaced by murmurs. This isn't what they expected. Your opponent's frustration turns to rage. She charges, but this time, you're ready. You sidestep, catch her arm, and, using her own momentum, send her sprawling to the ground. The arena falls silent. Shock ripples through the crowd. You've just done the impossible. You've defeated one of their warriors without landing a killing blow. But that victory may have made things worse. The alien Amazons won't see this as a triumph. They'll see it as defiance. They expected you to lose, or die. Now you've proven yourself, and that makes you a threat. The warriors exchange glances. Whispers spread among them. This isn't over, not by a long shot. Because in this brutal world, a single victory only means one thing. They're going to test you again. Harder, faster, deadlier. And this time, they won't underestimate you. The silence in the arena is deafening. Your opponent, the towering Amazon warrior you just defeated, lies sprawled on the scorched ground, her armor cracked, her pride shattered. The crowd, once jeering and confident, now murmurs in disbelief. You'd think victory would bring relief. But instead, the tension tightens like a noose around your chest. The warriors watching you aren't just surprised, they're angry. The alien leader steps forward. Her armor gleams beneath the artificial sunlight that pours down from the arena's ceiling. Symbols of power and victory are etched into her plating, evidence that she's fought and won countless battles. She locks eyes with you, her gaze cold and calculating. For a moment, you sense her weighing her options, whether to strike you down on the spot or throw you back into the ring to bleed for their entertainment. Then she gives a sharp command, and two warriors seize you, dragging you from the arena. You're not taken to a cell as you expected. Instead, you're hauled into a dark chamber deep within the fortress, a place that feels more like a war room than a prison. The air smells of scorched metal and sweat, and the walls are lined with racks of weapons, blades, spears, and strange polearm-like devices that hum with unfamiliar energy. The leader steps inside, dismisses her guards with a gesture, and circles you slowly. "You fought well," she growls, her voice low and guttural. "But one victory doesn't mean you belong here." Her hand falls to the hilt of a curved blade at her waist. The metal gleams, almost alive. She's testing you again, watching your reaction, waiting for you to flinch. But you don't. Not this time. You've started to understand their ways, their mindset. These warriors don't just admire strength, they respect defiance. Weakness earns you nothing in their world, but standing your ground, that means something. She narrows her eyes, then speaks a word you barely recognize. Kethrak, trial. The next few hours are a blur. You're not given food, not given rest. Instead, you're dragged from chamber to chamber, tested again and again. One moment, they force you into hand-to-hand combat against warriors who strike like hammer blows, their fists landing with enough force to rattle your bones. The next, they throw weapons at your feet. Blades that flicker with energy, axes with vibrating edges, and bark commands, watching as you struggle to understand their alien fighting style. Each challenge is designed to break you down, to expose your limits. But humans, we learn fast. You begin to notice patterns, flaws in their tactics. The Amazons rely on overwhelming force, charging forward with raw aggression. But you know something they don't. Patience. Where they fight like battering rams, you become like water, slipping past their strikes, countering with speed and precision. One warrior nearly takes your head off with a curved blade, but you twist away, grabbing her wrist and spinning her momentum against her. Another comes at you with a spear, and you sidestep, driving her own weapon into her knee. You're not fighting with strength, you're surviving with strategy. Hours pass, and still, you endure. At last, they lead you back to the arena. The crowd is louder this time. Warriors slamming their weapons together in rhythmic beats that feel like war drums. Your body aches, your muscles scream in protest, but you refuse to show weakness. You know this is no longer just a spectacle. This is a rite of passage. The leader steps into the arena herself this time. She's stripped off her elaborate armor, now clad in flexible form-fitting gear designed for speed. The blade at her hip is gone, replaced by a jagged spear crackling with energy. "I saw what you did," she says, voice low and dangerous. "You learned too quickly, too well." Her grip tightens on her weapon. "Now, let's see what you really are." The crowd erupts. You barely have time to react before she's on you. Fast, faster than anyone you've faced so far. Her spear flashes through the air, stabbing and slicing in rapid arcs. Each strike is ruthless, aimed to kill, not wound. The floor becomes a blur as you duck, roll, and twist away from the deadly weapon. She's relentless, her strikes driving you back inch by inch, but this time, you have a plan. You've noticed something. Her strikes are fast, but her footwork follows a rhythm. Every third attack, she pauses, just for a fraction of a second, to shift her weight. It's barely noticeable, but it's a pattern. You wait, endure. biding your time until she lunges again. This time you don't dodge. Instead, you step into her strike, twisting your body just enough to avoid the spear's point. Before she can recover, you slam your forearm into the shaft of her weapon, wrenching it from her grasp. The spear clatters to the ground. For a heartbeat, she freezes. The crowd falls silent once more. But this time, there's no anger, no outrage. Instead, there's something else in their eyes, a glimmer of respect. The leader steps back, blood trickling from a cut on her brow. She wipes it away with her thumb, then nods. Once, sharply. "You're not what I thought," she mutters. "You're something else." But before you can even process what's happening, she turns to the crowd and shouts a single word, one that chills you to the bone. "Sathrek, champion." The crowd explodes into cheers, but you know what this means. They aren't celebrating your victory. They're preparing for your next fight. Because now, you've earned the right to face someone far worse. The word Sathrek still echoes in your mind as you're led away from the arena. The warriors surrounding you seem different now. Less mocking, more curious. You've proven yourself, but not in the way they expected. They thought you'd die quickly, an amusing spectacle before they moved on to real challengers. Instead, you've become something far more dangerous, an unknown variable. You're taken deeper into their fortress, past towering statues of armored champions, each one marked with scars, battle-worn weapons, and grim expressions. These aren't decorations, they're warnings. Every face carved in stone belonged to someone who rose to power in their brutal system, and not all of them survived. At last, you're brought to a chamber unlike any you've seen before. The air here is colder, the stone walls marked with jagged runes that pulse faintly with crimson light. Warriors line the room, each one clad in ceremonial armor with faces like stone. At the far end, a heavy iron gate looms, its surface darkened with soot and streaked with something you hope isn't blood. Then you hear it. A low, guttural growl from behind the gate. Something massive shifts in the shadows beyond. Something that doesn't belong on any world you've known. "You wanted to be a Sathrek?" the leader growls behind you. "Then you'll fight her." The gate shudders, then rises with a thunderous roar of chains, and from the darkness steps your next opponent. She's unlike anything you've faced so far. Towering, even compared to the other warriors, her armor gleams like polished obsidian. Her shoulders are draped with dark furs, and her skin is etched with glowing red tattoos that pulse in time with her heartbeat. But it's her eyes that truly unnerve you. Cold, calculating, and completely devoid of mercy. This is no ordinary warrior. This is a blood champion, a living legend forged through pain, sacrifice, and endless victories, and she's looking at you like prey. The battle begins without warning. She lunges, faster than you expected, and her massive blade crashes down, splitting the floor where you stood a moment before. Dust fills the air and you stumble back, barely dodging her follow-up strike. Each swing is brutal, each movement precise. This isn't wild aggression. This is control. The blood champion isn't just strong, she's skilled. You try to counter, feinting to her side and aiming for her exposed flank, but she's faster. Her arm lashes out, striking you hard enough to send you sprawling. The pain blooms across your ribs, and before you can rise, she's there again, her blade descending like a guillotine. Instinct takes over. You roll, barely, just enough to escape the killing blow. The blade slams into the stone floor, cracking it like glass. Dust stings your eyes as you stagger back, chest heaving. You can't match her strength. Not directly. But strength isn't everything. She's relying on power, every strike meant to overwhelm and crush. But those glowing tattoos on her body, they pulse faster when she moves. Could they be draining her strength, feeding her power at a cost? You test the theory. Instead of dodging her next strike, you sidestep just enough to keep her moving, forcing her to keep up her relentless pace. Blow after blow rains down, but you stay just out of reach, forcing her to burn energy. Minutes stretch into eternity. Your muscles scream. Your breath comes in ragged gasps. But you see it. The tattoos flicker, dimming. Her breathing grows heavier. Her strikes slower. Now's your chance. She lunges again, this time slower, sloppier. You sidestep, grabbing a fallen blade from the arena floor. It's heavier than you'd like, but you don't have time to hesitate. As she swings again, you dive low, sweeping her leg and sending her crashing to one knee. Before she can rise, you strike, not to kill, but to disarm, driving your blade into the haft of her weapon and shattering it in half. For a breathless moment, the arena is silent. The Blood Champion stares at her broken weapon, chest heaving. Then, to your surprise, she laughs. A low, rumbling sound. Not of anger, but of approval. She rises to her feet, blood streaking her face, and offers you her hand. You learn quickly, she growls. Good, you'll need that. Because this wasn't just a test of strength or skill. This was a warning. The warriors here believed you were just a fluke, lucky, unpredictable, and out of place. But now they see you as something far worse, a potential threat. And as the Blood Champion steps aside, the alien leader steps forward once more, her expression colder than ever. You've proven you can fight, she says. Now you must prove you can survive. The crowd erupts once more, louder than before. But this time the cheers carry a different tone. Less mockery, more anticipation. Because your next challenge won't be about fighting another warrior. Your next trial will be against something far deadlier. They call it the Dreadform. No other word seems to fit. No one tells you where it came from or what it is. But the way the warriors speak of it, you know it's something far worse than any opponent you've faced. Even the Blood Champion, still wiping blood from her face, avoids your gaze when the name is mentioned. Whatever this thing is, it's more than a beast. It's a test of survival, and few survive. The warriors lead you down into the bowels of the fortress, deeper than you thought the structure could go. The air thickens with the scent of rust and stagnant water. The walls feel too close, the flickering torches barely holding back the darkness. As you descend, you notice the carvings on the walls, scenes of warriors facing impossible creatures. Some show champions standing victorious, but most show something far worse. Figures twisted, broken, and lifeless. At last, you reach a massive chamber, a vast, circular arena with walls so high you can barely see the top. Metal grates line the floor, and the air is damp and cold. The warriors who escorted you step back without a word. A grinding sound fills the air as a heavy gate across the arena begins to rise. The chains rattle like bones. And from the shadows beyond, it emerges, the Dreadform. At first, it's hard to even understand what you're looking at. Its body is a writhing mass of sinew and black, bark-like plating, as though flesh and armor were fused together in some unnatural design. Thick, bladed limbs curl from its back like scorpion tails, twitching and clattering against the stone. But it's the face that chills you. A twisted thing resembling a skull, hollow-eyed and grinning with jagged, uneven teeth. Its breathing comes in ragged gasps, and each exhale carries a sickly chemical stench. The warriors on the walls shout something in their guttural language, something that sounds like a chant. Then, the creature moves. It's fast, too fast. The Dreadform launches itself across the arena with impossible speed, bladed limbs crashing down where you stood moments before. The impact sends stones splintering in every direction. You stumble back, barely dodging its follow-up strike, as one of its twisted limbs lashes out like a whip, slicing through the air inches from your face. Panic surges in your chest. There's no pattern to its movements, no rhythm like the warriors you fought before. This thing isn't following tactics, it's hunting. Every motion is wild, unpredictable, yet somehow precise, like a predator born to kill. You dive away again, narrowly avoiding another strike. The Dreadform's limbs tear gouges in the stone floor as it stalks you, forcing you closer to the arena's wall. There's no escape route, no clear way out, but then you notice something. The Dreadform's body is constantly shifting, its twisted plating flexing and folding. For brief moments, gaps appear, vulnerable points where the armor curls away, to reveal exposed sinew and muscle. They're small, but they're there. You don't have a weapon, only a broken spear shaft you grabbed earlier. But that'll have to be enough. When the dread form lunges again, you don't dodge, you charge. The creature's bladed limbs slash forward, and you roll beneath them, driving the jagged shaft into one of those fleeting gaps in its armor. The spear bites deep, and for the first time, the dread form screams. A bone-rattling sound that feels like it's clawing inside your skull. But the creature isn't done. It writhes violently, limbs flailing in every direction. One slams into your side, lifting you off your feet and sending you tumbling across the arena floor. Pain explodes in your ribs and your vision blurs. You can't survive a second strike. Like that. The creature advances again, its jagged limbs scraping sparks from the floor. Blood fills your mouth as you force yourself to stand. If you're going to survive this, you'll need to think faster. Then you spot the grates in the floor, thin metal vents dotting the arena's surface. You remember the damp, the strange chemical scent in the air. Whatever's beneath those grates, it's flammable. An idea forms. You grab a fallen torch from the arena floor, its flame flickering weakly. Then you sprint, zigzagging to stay just ahead of the dreadform's slashing limbs. The creature hisses, lunging closer. At the last moment, you dive forward, sliding across the stone floor. The torch sparks against the metal grate as you pass over it, just enough to ignite the gas hissing from below. The explosion erupts like a thunderclap. Fire rushes across the arena floor in a wave, engulfing the dreadform in flame. It shrieks again, a sound so piercing the warriors on the walls wince. Its blackened plating bubbles and cracks, and its limbs flail wildly as the inferno consumes it. And then, silence. The dread form collapses into a twisted, smoldering heap. The arena is still, save for the faint crackling of flames. For a moment, you don't move. Your chest heaves, your limbs tremble. But you're alive. The warriors above are silent at first, as if unsure what they've just witnessed. Then, slowly, they begin to pound their weapons against the walls. The sound rises, rhythmic, deafening, until the entire chamber shakes. It's not just applause, it's acknowledgement. You've done what few have ever accomplished. You've faced death itself, and won. But as the alien leader steps forward once more, her face grim, you know this isn't over. Because surviving the dreadform didn't just prove your strength, it marked you as something far more dangerous. A warrior. And now, they're going to use you. The fires still smolder when they drag you from the arena. Your breath is ragged, your body battered, and every muscle screams in protest. The warriors escorting you say nothing, no jeers, no insults, just silence. But their grip is iron, and their eyes never leave you. You're no longer a spectacle. You're a problem. Back in the fortress, you're taken to a dark chamber lined with iron chains and shackles. The warriors lock the door behind you, and for the first time since your capture, you're alone. The silence is deafening. Your mind races. Why keep you alive? The dreadform was supposed to kill you, designed to kill you. Yet here you are. And then you remember the alien leader's words. Now you must prove you can survive. This isn't over. Hours pass. Or maybe days. The dim torchlight never changes, and your thoughts blur with fatigue. But just when exhaustion begins to drag, the door creaks open. She enters. The blood champion. Still armored, still fierce. But her face is different now. The hard mask of a warrior is gone, replaced by something closer to curiosity, or maybe caution. You've caused a lot of trouble, she mutters, stepping closer. Most humans don't last a day here. But you? She smirks faintly. You broke our champion. You killed the dreadform. The others may fear you. But our leader? She sees something else. She leans in, voice lowering to a growl. She sees a weapon, something she can aim at her enemies. Before you can respond, she tosses something at your feet, an object wrapped in dark leather. You unfold it, and your breath catches. It's a blade, jagged, black, and curved like a serpent's fang. A gift, the blood champion says, her tone hard. You'll need it. Then she's gone, leaving you alone with the weapon. Moments later, guards return. They haul you through the fortress once again. But this time, the route is different. Upward, toward the towering spire you glimpsed earlier. The air grows colder, and outside the narrow windows, you can see the jagged peaks of the alien landscape, stretching far below. At last, you're brought before the alien leader. She stands on a stone balcony, her crimson cloak whipping in the wind. Below her, hundreds of warriors gather in formation, row after row of armored figures, their weapons gleaming in the morning light. "You've proven you can fight," she says, without turning. "And you've proven you can survive. But now," she turns, her cold eyes locking onto yours, "now you will conquer." She gestures to the army below. "My forces march to war. A rival clan controls the southern passes. Fortified. Strongholds, skilled warriors. A brutal enemy." Her gaze hardens. "You'll lead the vanguard." The words hit like a hammer. "Why me?" you manage to ask. Her expression darkens. "Because they won't expect you. A human, weak, fragile, underestimated. That's your advantage." She steps closer, her voice lowering. "Survive this, and you'll be more than just a warrior. You'll be a Sathrek, a warlord." Before you can refuse, she turns to her army and raises her voice. "This one has faced the Dreadform and stood victorious." The warriors erupt in guttural cheers, their weapons pounding against their shields. The sound rolls like thunder across the mountains. The alien leader turns back to you, her smile thin and sharp. "You'll lead them at dawn." And just like that, you're a pawn in her war. The next morning, you're armored in dark leather and metal, the strange black blade strapped to your side. The warriors around you sneer and mutter in their alien tongue, clearly unhappy about following a human. But their leader's orders are law. The march is grueling. Through jagged ravines, icy winds, and narrow trails where one misstep would mean death. The warriors move like shadows, silent and disciplined. No campfires, no songs, just cold resolve. Finally, you arrive at the enemy stronghold, a fortress carved directly into the mountainside, with towering walls bristling with archers. The main gate is reinforced with iron, and patrols sweep the walls constantly. The alien leader's strategy becomes clear. She's sending you to breach the gate, not her best warriors. If you succeed, the invasion begins. If you fail, well, it's one less human problem for her to deal with. But you're not going to play her game. Instead of charging the gate directly, you scout the rocky cliffs beside the fortress. The ledges are narrow, and the wind howls like a beast. But there's a path, a dangerous climb, but one that leads to an unguarded section of the wall. That night, under the cover of darkness, you scale the cliff with a handful of warriors. The climb is brutal. Ice slicks the stones, and twice, your footing nearly slips. But inch by inch you ascend, until at last you reach the top. The guards on the wall never see you coming. Your blade strikes fast, silent and precise. By the time the alarm sounds, you've already unbarred a side gate, allowing your warriors to pour inside. The battle is swift and bloody. The enemy is strong, but your side has surprise on their side. In the chaos, you find yourself face to face with one of the enemy commanders, a towering figure clad in obsidian armor. His blade sweeps toward you, but you sidestep, driving your own weapon into the weak point beneath his arm. He collapses, and the enemy's defense crumbles. By dawn, the fortress belongs to your side. The alien leader arrives soon after, walking through the battlefield with a satisfied smile. "You did well," she says, her voice like ice. "But this was just the beginning. Because now, you're not just a survivor, you're a conqueror, and they're about to find out that this weak human has no intention of playing by their rules." Days turn into weeks. Victories pile up. Each time your warriors strike, the enemy retreats, shattered. Lines, scorched fortresses, and broken banners left in your wake. The alien leader's plan is working, but not for the reasons she thinks. The warriors who once sneered at you now follow without question. They've seen what you can do. Not just your strength, but your mind. Where their tactics rely on brute force, you exploit weaknesses. They overwhelm with numbers. You misdirect and deceive. The enemy fears you now, not as a pawn, but as a commander. Yet even as your reputation grows, so does the tension. The alien leader watches you more closely now. She's no fool. She sees her human weapon becoming something far more dangerous, something she can't control. That's when the rumors begin. Whispers spread through the ranks. Rumors of a new challenger. A rival clan rising from the south. Fierce warriors, stronger than anything you've faced so far. But the most unsettling part? They follow someone claiming to be a Sathrek, a warlord, a title that should belong to you. When the alien leader summons you again, you know what's coming. She stands in her war chamber, eyes cold as stone. Maps are scattered across the table, battle lines, defensive positions, but none of that matters. You've done well, she says, her voice oddly calm. But your role has changed. She gestures to a smaller map, one showing a valley fortress surrounded by jagged cliffs. This is your next target. Their leader waits. Inside, her smile sharpens. This warlord claims to be powerful. Prove him wrong. Her meaning is clear. She doesn't just want the fortress taken. She wants the rival leader dead. But something doesn't sit right. The map shows no easy routes, just steep cliffs and narrow pathways. Too many blind corners, too many choke points. It's not just a fortress, it's a trap. You confront the alien leader directly. This isn't a stronghold, it's a slaughter pit. You're sending me to die. Her smile never fades. Perhaps. But a true Sathrek wouldn't fail. The message is clear. Win, or die trying. The march to the fortress is tense. The warriors at your side, once loyal, are divided. Some still trust you. Others mutter that you've grown arrogant, that you believe yourself more than human. The Blood Champion, however, remains at your side. They want you to fail, she warns as you prepare your forces. They think this warlord will crush you. If you fall, they'll remember you as nothing more than a bold fool who got lucky. Her gaze hardens. But if you win, you know what she means. Survive this. And you won't just be a warrior. You'll be a legend. The Valley Fortress is even worse than you feared. The enemy has fortified every ridge, lined every wall with archers and set traps along the few narrow paths. Any frontal assault would be suicide, but you have something they don't expect. Time. Instead of attacking immediately, you pull back and wait. Days pass. The enemy grows restless. Their patrols become lazy, their guards overconfident, and that's when you strike. Under cover of night, your forces scale the cliffs, not in one massive push, but in small teams. Each group targets a different weak point. Supply lines, lookout, towers, isolated patrols. By the time the enemy realizes they're surrounded, half their defenses have crumbled. Then, you find him. The rival warlord stands at the heart of the fortress, a towering figure clad in spiked armor, wielding a massive, cleaver-like blade. His warriors rally around him, snarling in their alien tongue. He grins as he sees you. The so-called Sathrek, he sneers. I've killed better than you. You don't answer. Words won't win this. He moves like a storm, blade flashing in wide, brutal arcs. You barely dodge the first strike, the force of it splitting stone where you'd stood moments before. His strength is monstrous, but he's reckless. Each strike is wild, predictable. You wait, watching, calculating. Then, in a single swift motion, you duck inside his guard. Your blade flashes, carving deep beneath his arm. He staggers back, but he doesn't fall. His grin widens, blood streaming down his armor. Not enough. He swings again. Faster this time, driving you back. Pain flares in your ribs as his blade grazes your side. You stumble. Vision blurred, blood dripping from the wound, but then you see it. His mistake. In his arrogance, he's left his left flank open. One chance. That's all you'll get. You feint right, drawing his strike wide, then lunge left, driving your blade deep into the gap in his armor. The rival warlord's eyes widen, and then he collapses. The enemy breaks soon after. Leaderless, their morale crumbles, and your forces claim the fortress by dawn. When you return to the fortress, The alien leader waits for you. This time, her smile is thin, strained. She says nothing at first, just stares as though weighing her options. You've exceeded expectations, she says at last. Perhaps too well. The Blood Champion's warning echoes in your mind. You've gained too much power, too much respect. The alien leader isn't celebrating your victory. She's calculating. For the first time since your capture, you realize you're no longer a prisoner, or even a pawn. You're a threat, and in this brutal world, that's far more dangerous than any enemy blade. The alien leader's gaze lingers on you, her sharp eyes calculating. No praise, no congratulations, just cold, silent judgment. You've done well, she says at last. Too well. Before you can respond, she turns and walks away. The Blood Champion steps closer, her expression grim. She's going to kill you, she says flatly. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. You'd suspected as much. Victory had bought you power, but now that power had made you a threat. But why, you ask? I've won her wars. I've done everything she wanted. The Blood Champion shakes her head. That's the problem. The warriors respect you now. Some more than they respect her. And she knows it. Her voice lowers. The Sathrek title was never meant for you. She can't allow you to keep it. The Blood Champion leans closer, voice tight with urgency. You need to leave. Tonight. And go where? You ask bitterly. She pauses, then answers in a whisper. The Southern Wilds. There's a rebel clan, warriors who defied her years ago. They hate her, but they'll welcome you. The plan is dangerous, but waiting here is suicide. That night, under the cover of darkness, you slip away, moving fast through narrow mountain trails. The Blood Champion travels with you, guiding you through winding ravines and shadowed passes. For days, you evade patrols, skirting enemy outposts and hiding in cold, wind-scoured caves. At last, you reach the Southern Wilds, a land of jagged peaks and twisted forests. The air feels different here, wilder, heavier, like the land itself is waiting for a fight. But the rebel warriors aren't welcoming. They emerge from the trees, weapons drawn, their armor scavenged and mismatched. Their leader, a scarred warrior with piercing eyes, steps forward. You're the human warlord, he growls. The one who fights for her. I fight for myself, you reply. And I've left her army. His expression hardens. Prove it. They surround you. 5 warriors with blades drawn. There's no warning, no ritual or ceremony. The fight begins instantly. You dodge the first strike, spinning away from a spear thrust. A sword flashes toward your back. You pivot, your blade catching it with a shriek of metal. Every strike is faster than the last. But you're faster still. Every feint, every misstep, they play into your hands. Moments later, you stand over 5 fallen warriors, blood dripping from your blade. None are dead, just wounded enough to remember the lesson. The rebel leader steps forward, eyes narrowed. Then he laughs, a low, satisfied rumble. You'll do, he mutters. But you'd better be ready. She won't let you live long enough to enjoy this victory. Weeks pass, and your new life takes shape. The rebels know the alien leader's tactics well. They've been fighting her for years. With your knowledge of her forces and their guerrilla tactics, your raids begin to cripple her supply lines. Her soldiers, once fearless, now whisper your name in dread. But you know this won't last. The alien leader won't allow a rival warlord, especially one she once controlled. And soon enough, she makes her move. The attack comes at night. Her forces strike fast, burning rebel camps and cutting down anyone who resists. The Blood Champion fights at your side, blades flashing in the firelight. But then, you see her. The alien leader herself, watching from a nearby ridge, armored in crimson steel, flanked by her elite guard. Her gaze locks onto yours, and you know this isn't a battle, it's a hunt. The Blood Champion grabs your arm. We need to go. But you shake your head. Not this time. You break away from the fighting, sprinting up the ridge. The alien leader sees you coming, and smiles. She draws her blade, a wicked curved weapon etched with glowing runes. No more armies, you say, meeting her gaze. No more tricks, just you and me. She grins, a cold, predatory smile. I was hoping you'd say that. The duel is brutal. She's fast, faster than anyone you've faced before. Her strikes are precise, every movement calculated. She's not just a leader. She's a killer. But you've learned something she hasn't. She fights like a commander, rigid, disciplined, predictable. You let her push you back, her blade slicing just inches from your throat. Then, when she overcommits, driving forward with one last powerful strike, you pivot. Your blade flashes up, catching her wrist and twisting her sword from her hand. She stumbles, and you strike again. This time your blade finds its mark, cutting deep into her side. She gasps, dropping to her knees. Her blood stains the earth, crimson against the cold stone. You should have killed me when you had the chance. You say quietly. She tries to speak, maybe a curse, maybe a plea, but no words come. Her body slumps forward, and the war ends. In the aftermath, the Blood Champion kneels before you, along with dozens of warriors who once served her. They chant a single word, Sathric, Warlord. You didn't want this. You didn't ask for it, but here you are, a human standing atop an alien empire, with an army at your back and a galaxy before you. Because when they captured you, they underestimated what a single human could become. And now they know. If you enjoyed this story, remember, every great journey starts with a few brave explorers. Right now, HFY Chronicles-849 is just beginning, and your support means everything. If you love thrilling stories of survival, strategy, and unexpected victories, hit subscribe. It's free, and it helps us grow this community together. But tell me, if you were in that warrior's place, would you have fought back or surrendered? Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, stay strong, stay sharp, and never stop fighting.